Good morning, colleagues, and thank you for joining us here again this Monday. I apologize for our tardiness. As you can see, our first presenter is Honorable Kenson Kazimi, the Minister for Youth Development and Sports, and also the MP for Grozili.
I think obviously one this morning, everybody. As you may know, on Friday, the 11th of April, we saw brand new lights on display for our cricketers and all of St. Lucia to see at the Minder Phillip Park as we started a new era in semi-professional cricket in St. Lucia. Brand new lights, considering the Minder Phillip Park for close to 15 years did not have proper functioning lights for any development program for our nation's youth in terms of sport. We've said it before, I'm going to say it again. The Minder Phillip Park is really the mecca for cricket development in St. Lucia. We saw the likes of Darren Sammy, the likes of even Johnson Charles, Zeta James, Keanu Joseph, all would have had some experience at the Minder Phillip Park. And so we were elated to have put on the brand new lights, LED, modern lights. Very soon we will be cutting the ribbon on a brand new state-of-the-art gym at the Minder Phillip Park. And so I guess for all intents and purposes, we could see the amount of development happening at the Minder Phillip Park and the developments in sport in general in St. Lucia. Over the weekend, you would have also recognized the St. Lucia chess team over in Trinidad, doing well so far. And we are getting ready for our Carifta track and field team to head over to Trinidad and Tobago on this weekend. Almost 20-member team, 20 of their member team heading over to Carifta Games. We also see some developments in semi-professional football, as last week they hosted their anniversary, and the celebration included a component of inviting corporate St. Lucia to be part of the activity and to pledge their support. We've had support from about 4 of some of the biggest names in corporate St. Lucia for the semi-professional football league, and so we're encouraged by that so far. Also, over the last week in sport in St. Lucia, we saw the inter-district primary school competition, track and field, with District 8 being the overwhelming winner. And I mean by a landslide, followed by District 2, which is the Castries Basin. For those of you who do not know, District 8 would be the Soufrière Choiseul Basin, doing very, very well in track and field. And we certainly hoping that this is a signal in the right direction for track in St. Lucia. In my constituency of Grozili, we continue to monitor the developments of our facilities and, of course, our infrastructure. The Riviera Road is nearing completion. The road in Piat as well. We've done some serious work with Wasco on that Piat Road near the bakery, affectionately called the Hazel Road. Bus driver who lives towards the end, who could not access his home for a number of years without some very, very deep trepidations. So very proud of those activities. We continue to see the social development of our people as we get ready for Moshi Jazz on the 6th of May in the community of Moshi. And we are getting some more interest in our peanut butter pantry, which is set to assist young people going to school who may not have, breakfast groceries at their home, working very closely with Rice St. Lucia and Venus Cherry to continue to provide that assistance. Questions?
Well, I speak this literally. A little things like TikTok news. Yes, good, Mr. Miss. As you speak of sports, you also mentioned the Grozili constituency. There's some projects going on. What would be the latest with the sports field? That's a big deal for the North.
Yes.
What would be the latest with this?
The Grozili Mini Stadium is about 98% complete. We are currently doing some work on the surface. We are into the dry season, so we're seeing pretty much brown grass We're doing some work on the playing field. We had semi-professional cricket played there on the weekend. We have had some games, some charity games in times past. We're looking to start work on the perimeter wall in terms of some of the prominent Grosley former national players being displayed for the rest of the world. Once we're through with that, we are currently planning actually the grand opening, and we're looking at immediately after Jazz for the opening of the Grosley Mini Stadium, a stadium that will be renamed after an individual from the Grosley constituency who's done a lot of work in terms of representing St. Lucia and, of course, passing on the skill over to the next generation. We will be renaming the stands as well, because we have brand new stands there, again, in the name of an individual who's done very well for the constituency and St. Lucia. And so very, very soon, the Grosley Mini Stadium will be available to all. We have some events that are already booked for the summer, and the management of that facility, as it transitions from just being an ordinary ground to a mini stadium, will fall under Sports St. Lucia Inc.
And you think it would be a good complement for the Darren Summit? Because, I mean,
absolutely,
the events, like you say, will take it for.
Absolutely. So these community facilities would be better suited for some of the social activities that we know we don't have venues to host. And like I said, during the carnival season, you will be seeing some activities there. And perhaps it would move some of the other activities that are normally held at our international ground to more of the communal ground. So I am very, very happy about that. We still, as a ministry, we've identified an area for a National Entertainment Center, a Youth and Entertainment Center. Of course, once the financing is available, we will be breaking ground and moving in that direction to give options for more social events. Please.
Minister, budget Budget 2024-2025 has ended. That fiscal year has ended. Could you tell us of some of your achievements?
Okay. 2025 was really, 2024-2025 was really change year sport development in St. Lucia. I think in terms of the establishment of a clear understanding of how we develop sport in St. Lucia, I think that has been articulated to most organizations in terms of our pyramid structure for sports development, participation at the bottom, and then high performance. So we've seen the High Performance Center in cricket really yield some massive results, as we now have a record 11 players on our regional and international cricket scene, as we focus more on the actual development of the holistic development of athletes in terms of their mind, in terms of their body, in terms of their actual talent. So that's a huge achievement. Track and field, we've seen some huge strides in track and field over that last year. Not just Julian Alfred, but the likes of Naomi London making huge strides, second fastest teenager in the female division that we have in the world currently. And of course, the backstory of managing her injury is something that we look very closely at, considering that she's running those very fast times and she's still very much injured and nursing her injuries. I think in terms of the development of facilities, we've made some huge strides in that financial year. Mender Phillip Park, of course, doing very well. Darren Sammy Stadium, Grosley Playing Field, Wen Playing Field, Canris Playing Field, and a number of other facilities have been given a lot of attention. And of course, our programs have been very well attended. We're seeing an increase in the number of persons that are part of the football grassroots development program, especially as it pertains to the higher performing grassroots students dealing with Earlshire and Stuart Charles. We've seen some great progress in our program. So sports development over the last year has seen a balance of the actual physical development of the infrastructure and the actual social and mental development of our athletes through our programming. So I think it's something that we can all be proud of. And I know after that fiscal year, 2024-2025, sports in St. Lucia can never be the same again.
Okay, can you tell us what we should expect in the upcoming cycle, or in this within this year?
There's a lot to anticipate as we get into appropriations. You will be hearing some declarations. You will be hearing some clarity on some issues. You will be definitely seeing a gravitation towards even more towards alternative sport. We are the government who saw it fit that young people who are not necessarily into the traditional football and cricket be given attention, whether it's through playing chess, darts, drafts, dominoes, whether it is with cycling in terms of stunts, whether it's with drag racing. And so you will be seeing even more investment. And I think one of the statements that will be made has a lot to do with facilities as it pertains to drag racing that we can look forward to. But we as a ministry, we continue to work hard to develop all young people. We are tired of hearing displaced young people or people that are not engaged and attached. These are some of the nomenclature that we are moving away from as we try to give as many young people attention as we possibly could.
Can you address the complaints of the Red Cross about the development or the food taking place at the vigil?
Yes. I saw the report. I was indeed curious to find out. I did make some calls to find out whether or not there was some engagement with the Red Cross. The information given to me as minister was that there was engagement before any of the sandblasting commenced. Again, this is the information reaching me. I was indeed saddened that anybody would have been affected by that. As I've said to anybody, development is not, most times development is inconvenient. There's an inconvenience to building a road. People would have to sacrifice gaining access straight to their home while we work on the road to their home. And there's inconvenience to establishing and modernizing a playing field. So that would have been one of the inconveniences. Unfortunately, some people who were affected, and we apologize to them, but we have to continue the work of developing our sports facilities for this and the next generation. And I certainly, the sandblasting is done. So I certainly hope from then on there won't be any effects to the people in the area.
Then your president? The police HN president. For example.
Police headquarters in Grosley, it's exciting times for me as the MP. The progress is ongoing. Everything in terms of development, when it's physical and infrastructural, is weather permitting. And so I was given a timeline that before year's end. And every time I hear a timeline, I say, well, weather permitting, because we know the shocks, some of what can happen in any given time and space. But I'm very, very encouraged by what I've seen so far. A lot of persons would look on the outside and figure there's a lot of work left. There is a lot of work left, but not as much as people actually think. And so I'm very happy by the progress that we see at the Grosley Police Station and some of our other facilities. Thank you.
Okay, our final presenter for today, Honorable Dr. Ernest Thiele, the Deputy Prime Minister, and also Minister for Tourism, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture and Information.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
We only have about less than 10 minutes. Yeah. Step. There is a little committees.
Well, there's a presentation that will start at 11. Well, should have started at 12 already. Yeah. So thank you so very much. I think I want to start off just by expressing on behalf of the Ministry of Tourism, on behalf of the Central Tourism Authority and the Central Hospitality and Tourism Association, our sincere thanks to everyone that supported the Jimmy's. On Saturday night, I think we had a very successful hosting of the third annual Jimmy's, and the Jimmy's was created for us as the industry partners to recognize the excellence of our hospitalitarians, the persons who really go out of their way to ensure that we deliver. And of course, we're seeing from the numbers that St. Lucia had over last year, which was a record-breaking year, that St. Lucians, our people, are the cornerstone of that success. And the gym is really celebrating their outstanding achievements. For my part, in my address, I made the point that we had, despite 500 less rooms, we were still able to have a record-breaking year in terms of arrivals. But also importantly, when we've done the calculations, the total value of visitor arrivals in terms of visitor expenditure is 3.5 billion EC dollars. And one of the challenges for us as a society is how do we get more of that money to actually be spent in St. Lucia? Now, you calculate the money based on the cost of accommodation, the number of nights that were spent, the average daily spend, whatnot. At 3.5 billion is a significant amount. So the government has resolved to continue the thrust to ensure that we get more of the money to actually be spent in St. Lucia and to actually go into the pockets of St. Lucians. You add to that the fact that when we looked at the data as it relates to the Airbnb type of accommodation, 30,000 persons chose that as an option last year. Now, that's only what we've been able to capture online because of the search in the booking engines. We can get the data. 30,000 persons. There are more, but these are people who would have done direct bookings or done bookings via, websites and emails, whatnot. We would not have captured that. And when you translate the 30,000 persons in terms of dollar value, calculate the number of days by average daily rates, it approximates 79.5 million EC that would have been spent directly in the hands of local operators of those accommodation places. So again, our intention this year is to be able to expand that, to really promote Collection de Pépite, which is a collection of small villas, as well as the home accommodation option, to get more visitors choosing it. And of course, like I said, the 30,000 is only from our online data capture. So we really want to make sure that more St. Lucians benefit from the tourism industry. And coming back to the Jim, is Saturday night was about celebrating them and their successes. And we've noticed that the event itself is growing every year. I mean, we're starting to wonder now where next in terms of hosting the event, because it is growing. And more hospitality workers want to attend and want to be part of the celebration. So wanted to express our thanks to everybody and to the winners, to really say congratulations to them. And for those who did not win, not to tell them, do not give up. It is more than just a competition. In fact, the competition is a secondary part. It is the recognition of workers in the sector as a whole that really matters. Yes, there will be the competition and persons want to win, but it's more than that. Even if you did not win, you're still a hero. You're still somebody who's made a significant contribution. We want to celebrate you as well. So I hope next year we'll see even more submissions. More establishments will submit nominations, and let us really pay respect and give the accolades to those who make the difference in the tourism industry. Thank you very much on this one.
Again, listen, it's good. Yes, as you mentioned, the fringe events, the community events, does that bring into play more, like you say, the town councils, the village councils, the stakeholder expansion? It brings in more people into, getting this event, organized and get it out.
Well, I've always explained that the whole thrust is to move the tourism from being a resort-based experience to a community-based experience. So we want more of the visitors to spend more time out in the communities and to spend more money in the communities. And through the Community Tourism Agency, we really spearheading this and pushing it full throttle. And only last week or week before, we did a sorted in for the Asferry lookout point, and we will be having a couple more sorted in ceremonies in the coming weeks. We want to create more community experiences. And the Water Sculpture Park will be a big one for us. And I've been touting this for quite a while. But the intention is for us to create more and more experiences. Last week I was in Miami, and forget the noise as usual, because there are a lot of things been reaching about it. We were saying to the cruise lines that when the ships are in harbor, there are persons that don't get off and they're just on the ship. Well, give us a chance to come and entertain them, because the performance facility is available, because they use it night times for the gala shows and whatnot. Give us a chance to bring our creatives on the ships and to perform, creating more opportunities for community groups, especially our creatives, our cultural persons. When you look at, for example, the ATV tour in Denbury North. It's one of the most fantastic tours that exists. What he actually does is, as you traverse through the community, you stop and you enjoy local community experiences, from the making of the local bread to the Montego Bay, the solo group performing. So as you go through the community, you have about 3 or 4 community experiences that are alive and taking place. And if we can replicate that, in Strozell, we're going to be launching what we call an Earth Tour, where the artisans, a number of artisans will participate in it. We've helped them to build the facilities, to upgrade to what's necessary, where you can actually do a tour and see artisans making coal pots, making table mats, and actually sit in their workspace with them and see them at work. So it gives an opportunity now for you to buy directly from them. And while you're watching them make a mat, you can have a float and okra and some saltfish and squash at the same time. And what's important though is gives a chance for that art, the traditional art and craft, to continue to live on, but also to create livelihoods for the persons who do it, and to create a bigger market for them, because now people are coming straight into their workplaces. So you will see in Prague, we're going to be setting up the sea moss experience, where visitors will kayak out to where the sea moss is being grown in the water, to actually see how they harvest it, come back on shore and see how they process it and the different uses of it. So a number of places you will see we're creating those experiences. And again, it's for the communities now to start benefiting. For jazz, the first show we have is going to be in Mico, Jazz Verge, to actually see a new site. And from all that I've heard and seen, it's going to be a tremendous experience to actually to go to that place and to witness the enchanting, and landscape and environment it gives us. Again, hoping that area can develop and create more opportunities. Because I tell you, the $3.5 billion, we have to make sure most of that stays in St. Lucia for our people and not to go back out. And that is what we determined to do, to transform the industry. The youth economy, for example, it has to become even more important to help young people get the financing to start their own little economic opportunities. So there's so much that we can do. And in fact, when I address the budget, I'll be able to speak more about what that vision is and how we're transforming the industry. I don't know if I answered here.
And what question?
Lisa, I miss you.
Oh, thank you, I missed you too. Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you. Just compensation, since we haven't seen you in a little bit, but I'll be quick. The loss of Virgin and TUI, I don't think we've heard a statement from you on that. How do we expect to navigate?
Well, we actually issued a statement, the Tourism Authority, on it, and I think I explained it.
Forgive me if I wasn't around.
Yeah, let me explain it to you again. It's really important because it poses what our bigger challenge is in the tourism industry. So let me just recon to you. You'll recall under the last government, Virgin had pull away, and there was a lot of talk, including from myself, asking a lot of questions, whatnot. We spoke to Virgin about coming back to St. Lucia. One of the things we have maintained as a government, of course it can always change in the future, but we've not reached any decision on that, is that we don't pay minimum guarantees to airlines. We don't. And therefore, we said to Virgin that one of the big concerns in coming back is that, we would be able to offer them rooms that they can use for Virgin Holidays and for their own commercial activities. And as you know, a lot of the English market is family vacation, whatnot. But since Virgin came back, what has happened? Zoetree opened up. It was rebranded to Zoetree, and it moves to couples only. And then Morgan Bay on Shock Hill closed down, and is now going to open as Secrets, which is couples again. And then Starfish and Mystic on the Ridgeway Beach closed down, and it's going to be, they should start the demolition this week to be replaced with 3 new hotels. So we also lost those rooms. So there we are now, promising that there'll be more rooms available for family and even solo travelers. and you've been told now all the rooms in St. Lucia are moving towards couples. Of course, we are a honeymoon destination, we are a wedding destination, and couples usually travel. And then add to that, those holiday vacationing companies, their price range is a little lower. St. Lucia is moving rapidly into becoming a luxury destination. So the daily rate is actually getting higher. Now, we have promised that there will be more rooms on the market, but the rooms are not yet ready. Not yet ready. And therefore, it puts us in a very delicate position. As a government and as an industry, we have to be very concerned that we do not move and be seen as a luxury destination, because we'll be shutting out a significant part of the market. We need to have a more diverse offering. And again, it's one of the reasons why we are pushing the home accommodation as an alternative, pushing the collection de pipit as an alternative. But some of the airlines in that particular case, Virgin included, want rooms. And they want rooms that they can take and package. So we have a major challenge in St. Lucia. We actually need a couple of 3-star, 3.5-star, maybe even 4-star hotels in St. Lucia at a rate that can allow for that. Because if you're going to travel with husband, wife, 3 children, that's 5. You have to buy a ticket for 5. You have to pay accommodation for 5. So you can imagine, the challenge that would pose. So with Virgin, it just did not make economic sense for them to continue and not get the room stock that they wanted. Now, in the case of Royalton, I don't want to speak on behalf of the hotels, but I can speak generally as Minister of Tourism. Royalton was associated with TUI, and they brought a lot of people for Royalton. Royalton has had their own private and commercial agreements in place that's different to what existed in the past. And it just did not make sense. Again, we don't have that category of hotels as we had a couple of years ago. And in fact, I said earlier, and I said it at the Jimmy's, we had a record-breaking year, even though we had 500 less rooms. Now, if you calculate how many persons you could have lost by not having 500 rooms in operation, it tells you. So we have challenges in the industry. The future looks really bright, and I know given the next 2 years, it will be even bigger than it has ever been. But right now, we need to manage it in a very delicate way. Do you tell investors that they must build hotels, but only rent the rooms at $150, $200 a night, when they know they can get $375 a night, $400 a night? They won't even bother to listen to you. So right now, we're very limited in what we offer as family. You have Royalton, Coconut Bay, and you have Windjammer. And almost everybody else is couples, really. So that is our big challenge. But Virgin has assured us that they intend to return to St. Lucia, and we're really hoping that next year some of the rooms can come on stream.
I just have a few questions on the CIP. Last you were here, you were informed that the government had decided to suspend the contract with Caribbean Galaxy on infrastructure option.
2 minutes.
You terminated that, okay.
Because we are renegotiating this.
Okay, you're renegotiating at present. So, was there any compensation to Galaxy as a result of that termination?
No, because we both agreed the agreement had to be renegotiated, because the MOA, once the MOA came into effect, we had to make sure. Because, and again, I don't know if you recall, when I was asked by the media why we were not signing, I said that we had asked for a grandfathering of the existing agreements we had, and it was not granted. Eventually, we signed, because we had to sign as one of the countries, and then we've been trying to renegotiate. So rather than get the grandfathering, which we did not get, we have to renegotiate it with them. We were hoping that we could have had a discussion with them and sort out some of the issues. Cabinet has also agreed to relook at the CIP. So once we decided to relook at the CIP, the best course of action was to terminate it. Why do we have to take a review of the CIP? I believe the last government and the Alan Chaste, what they did, destroyed what the CIP was supposed to be for St. Lucia. The changes that were made, the removal of the annual quota, the removal of the net worth, the removal of the requirement for escrow to be in St. Lucia, all those things destroyed what our CIP brand was supposed to be, reduce the price like they did. It really caused us to join the race for numbers and as cheap as possible. we want to go back to the original concept of what the CIP was like. So in doing so, we had to signal to all partners that we are reviewing the legislation with a view to going back to where we were. And the MOA also requires us to act in a particular manner.
But with the MOA and the new pricing structure that you want to implement, although, yes, it allows for that minimum threshold, but do you believe that all of what you're asking for, including that in the net worth, would be able to stand within the new environment? Because even though you have the MOA...
The new global environment?
Yes, and you still, that competitive edge, do you believe that we will be able to still have that?
I mean, it is a reasonable point. The reason why it was changed was because the last government said they wanted to be competitive like everybody else. But we believe it has caused more challenges than benefits. There are benefits. I mean, you do the numbers. But we believe we wanted St. Lucia to be more marquee, more niche. And that's what we want to go back to. We're really not interested in the huge numbers and whatnot, because that itself brings a different set of challenges.
What are we doing about the applications? Okay, thank you. What is the move about the applications already received under the infrastructure option?
Well, that's part of the review and the renegotiation that will take place, and the appropriate decision will be made.
So do we know how many were received?
How many were, yeah.
Well, how many applications were received under infrastructure?
I think it was just around 3,000.
But we will take the best in.
Yes, does the taxi union have the backing of the Ministry of Tourism when it comes to going directly to the cruise lines to pitch their services? Or are there any reservations about them doing so without a mediator from the ministry for quality assurance purposes?
Well, first of all, let's put the taxi union aside. For now, I'll come back to them. The ministry, as part of the new legislation we have, the Tourism Development Act, requires that all service providers be certified. And certification means you are setting up a particular standard of delivery in terms of the excellence, the standards that are met. So whether your accommodation, your taxi, your boating, whatever, standards have been set and you have to be certified. So if you are referring to standards and delivery of service, they will have to, every taxi has to be certified. In fact, some of the taxi drivers are a little upset because in the past, what they did, they went to Transport Board, got their roadworthiness certificate and therefore got license. We now require them to get a tourism transportation certificate first. So in other words, you're not just roadworthy. We want the vehicle itself and the service to also be worthy. So you get now, you need 2 certificates now. Some people don't like it, but to satisfy the question that you asked in terms of quality of service and standards, we want that to be achieved. When we boast to the world that we are a world-class destination, we want to know that we've certified all the service provider to be world-class. And there will be some that will be upset about that. But if we are going to be world-class, we need to set up ourselves to be world-class. As it relates to the National Taxi Association Union, I have no difficulty in they going out, and they were out with us in Miami. It gives them a chance to understand the industry. It gives them a chance to see how it is structured, how, the whole business of the cruise industry unfolds. And I think that's really important. I think they need to do it. And I think many other sectors should be going out to trade shows to understand the industry. When you sit and negotiate with tour operators, if they don't even understand how it happens in the back end, it puts them at a disadvantage. So they're not going out there necessarily to get business from our perspective. Our perspective is that they get a chance to speak to the stakeholders, sit in, and I really hope, that they can in the future sit in with us and actually hear what the cruise lines are saying. I want them to hear cruise lines themselves saying, our passengers, when they come back and we ask them to rate St. Lucia, their number 1 complaint is X, Y, and Z. And if it pertains to them, they're hearing it directly. So when somebody says, we have a challenge in going to St. Lucia, they know what's the cause of it. So if it's boating, if it is taxi, if it is sites and attraction, I think the stakeholders should be out there and for them to get to understand how the industry is managed.
So are you saying the same thing should go on to the vendors' arcade? Because
for sure.
we hear a lot of the times they complain about the tourists coming down and they're on the a luxurious hotel that they don't really go to the vendors, but they on a trip, they don't really stop in Castries. Do you think that they should go and see how it's done?
I would love, let me tell you, left to me alone, honestly, as the Minister of Tourism, I would also take them to some destinations in the world for them to see how vending takes place in Rome, in London. Let them see. Let me tell you, if we say we are world class and we boasting we are world class, our people must actually see what world class is like. Some people travel, some of us travel, so we go to New York, we go to London, we go to Miami, and we can say we have a sense of what happens there. But our vendors, our taxi drivers, let them go out see the world. Let them see what others are doing. Let them see how professional other vendors are in other parts of the world. So when we come and we say to them, look, you must have a point of sale machine. You know, most people use card, they don't use cash anymore. And for them to actually see there are people that have small devices at our point of sale, they can go to the bank and say, look, you know, we have 300 vendors that work with us and they need machines. So it's about opening their own experiences and their understanding. So when we say we're world class, we are truly world class.